93 Boxing, I'm back with another video. Anthony Joshua says that Deontay Wilder needs to stop crying about Luis Ortiz and move on. And, to a certain extent, I do agree with him. As I said before, I'm not a Wilder hater. If anything, I've actually said before Joshua admitted that he doesn't want to be rushed to fight Wilder, that Team Joshua is probably avoiding Deontay Wilder from the things that I've noticed from Eddie Hearn and all that. Deontay Wilder is unable to get Joshua, and I feel bad for him. I feel like in a way he deserves Anthony Joshua, but in another way, I kind of agree with Anthony Joshua to a certain extent that Joshua only had like 4 years of pro career. And from what I'm hearing, that's about, and like Deontay Wilder's pro career is roughly about as much as Anthony Joshua's amateur and pro career together. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know how true that is. But that aside, right? Deontay Wilder is still saying the same thing. I know he's probably emotional, angry and whatnot. And I feel like Joshua is kind of like, he finds it funny that Wilder's still talking about it. I understand Deontay Wilder. He's frustrated. Deontay Wilder right now is a frustrated man because he's looking for the opportunity to prove himself from what it seems like. But he's unable to prove himself because these guys are pulling out with positive drug tests, like positive results for the drug test. So it's good that Wilder's not that much older than Joshua. I do think the fight will happen though. I do think the fight will happen. And no, Wilder won't be too old. Part of being old is when you're taking a lot of punishment. Is it like how much punishment you take throughout your career? And Wilder hasn't taken much. Maybe Joshua might have taken more punishment in his 19th fight than, like in all of his 19 fights than Wilder did on all of his 38 fights. So I don't buy into the Wilder's going to get old argument. That's like Triple G's going to get old against Canelo argument. But Deontay Wilder could beat Anthony Joshua. There was one thing about Wilder. He was saying that, this fight needs to happen in the States to be as big as you can be. In the sport of boxing, you have to do it in the States. And I understand that, but at the same time, Joshua doesn't need you. Joshua will make bigger paydays in the UK than you would do fighting in the States. Joshua will make millions fighting bums in the UK than you would do fighting anyone but Joshua in the States. The money, look, I am all for UK fighters going out there in the States to prove themselves because you get chucked in the deep end there. But when you're the main man in the division and you're generating huge numbers, right? And when you don't need to fight a top fighter, then why fight a top fighter? You already beat Klitschko right now. You can have a few cherry picks. I don't care about that. If you don't need to fight a top fighter, and if the other guy who's really good, right, is being avoided, he's avoided because it's a high risk, low reward fight right now. That's really why. It's Deontay Wilder's responsibility. Somehow, some way, he has to, he has to make Joshua need him. And how do you make someone need you? By, through fans, basically. Fans has to demand a fight. And they have to demand it more and more. How do they demand the fight? By Wilder going out there and keep winning, keep calling him out. Keep doing his thing. And eventually fans are going to call him up. Fans are going to say, what the fuck, Joshua's ducking. And then the pressure will be on Anthony Joshua. The pressure will definitely be on Anthony Joshua. That's how you do it. You look at Wilder's side, that's what you're supposed to do. He should have taken the fight with Dillian White, Look at Floyd Mayweather Jr. in his career. He took the offers that Oscar De La Hoya gave him, and they were not fair offers. Some of these offers that Floyd Mayweather had in his career were not fair. But he took them, he kicked ass, and then he became the A side. Wilder can do the same. He can definitely do the same. And he's not that known even in America as Joshua is in the UK. And he's not that known in America as Joshua is in America, full stop. Whether Joshua is not as big of a name as people like UK fans think he might be in the States, that's another debate, but he's still bigger than Wilder. I'm fairly sure. Let me know. If you're from the States, let me know this, right? Is Joshua a bigger name in boxing in the States than Wilder? Do people know about Anthony Joshua more than Deontay Wilder? I mean, the way I see it, right? Anthony Joshua was fighting, and someone like Dr. Dre gave him like a good luck, not a speech, I would say, just just wished him good luck on Skype. And that kind of lets me know that Joshua is a big name. Joshua is definitely a name, a recognized name in boxing in the States. So the way I see it, right? Wilder's right in his own way, Joshua's right in his own way. If you're on Anthony Joshua's side, you already beat Klitschko, right? You made a name for yourself. You don't need to fight someone. If you don't have to fight someone, why fight them? Like, you're the A side. Is that person's job to make himself more relevant? What's the point? Like, Anthony Joshua is able to make millions fighting nobodies. So why does he need to fight Wilder when he can just make millions fighting nobodies? I would just fight, but like honestly, if I was Joshua, I would avoid Wilder, whether I could beat him or not. Straight talk, talking about world champions and shit. That there's such thing as like pride and whatnot. But as I said, you beat Klitschko. That's a bigger name than anyone Wilder has fought in his resume. And no one in most people in history, right? Most people in boxing are not taking hard fights back to back to back to back. That's bullshit. We expect whenever a fighter picks a cherry pick or a lower tier competition, they get criticized. When Danny Garcia fought Rod Salga, I think that was a bit too much of a cherry pick. They get criticized. I'm not talking about that. Oh, fighters should be like Kilbrook, keep cherry picking on and on and on. Fighters fight good fighters, then they fight some bums. Like Danny Garcia be doing. He fought Matisse Herrera. Then he fought, who was his name? Rod Salka. Then he fought who's he fought? Lamont Peterson, right? That's a tough fight. I don't care what people say. At 140 or around about Lamont Peterson is really good. Then he went to 147. Paulie Malignaggi, you could say that's a bit of a cherry pick. He picked Robert Guerrero. That's a good fighter, at the time at least. Then he fought Keith Thurman. And now he probably will cherry pick again. Nothing wrong with that. That's easy money. Keeps you busy. They might not always be easy money because they might just show up, right? And you need your body to have that rest. No one can work at constant pace throughout their whole career, like a high pace. Nothing that doesn't exist. If you studied sports science and things like that, like I know people who've studied that shit, and they say that that's not how your body works. Everything works in cycles. When, for example, a powerlifter going to a powerlifting competition, they peak. They have certain repetitions and sets that they do in the gym, and according to how many weeks they have left for the powerlifting meet, the competition, they kind of choose the sets and reps that they do in each of the week leading up to the competition. It's with every sport, pretty much every sport on a high level. It's about cycling almost, and I'm not talking about steroids and anything. I'm talking about training, intensity, and things like that. You always have to give your body a little break. And Anthony Joshua, he could fight a cherry pick here and they get a little break, then fight a good fighter again, then cherry pick. What's wrong with that? I don't mind. I really don't mind. I'm not saying he should be like Kell Brook. I'm just saying that I really don't mind Anthony Joshua cherry picking for a while. I don't see why, I could be wrong. Can anyone let me know why Deontay Wilder is not willing to fight Dillian White? I just don't see why he wouldn't. I understand, right? It's supposed to, they're trying to make it seem like come here in the UK, but if you beat Dillian White, right? Isn't that another name on your resume? This name who's been in against Anthony Joshua? Is it? Because a lot of people don't know who Deontay Wilder is like that. I know people who know Anthony Joshua in the UK. Okay? But, my friends, they all know Anthony Joshua, but not everyone knows Deontay Wilder. And even if they do, they heard of him, they might have watched it on YouTube. They're not interested in the guy. They're not interested, and that's the honest truth. For that reason, I say that Deontay Wilder could fight Dillian White, make himself a bigger name. And the people that know Anthony Joshua also know Dillian White, because Dillian White fought Anthony Joshua. It was a good, big event. If Wilder faces White, right, and beats him, these fans, these people that I know that know Anthony Joshua, for example, would be now wanting the Wilder versus Joshua fight. And if Joshua still avoids Wilder, then the pressure will be on Joshua. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So Wilder, actually, I know he's frustrated, but he really needs to stop, like, move on. He needs to move on, and it's because it's not to say he won't get the fight. He can do certain things that will make it more likely for him to get the fight. But that's all I have to say. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to comment down below. Subscribe to my channel, 93 Boxing. I'm out.